Baiklah, Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi taala wabarakatuh. Salam sejahtera, selamat malam saya ucapkan kepada anda semua. Selamat datang ke siaran langsung MYSverse memilih dari National Wire Service selaku penyiar rasmi bagi MYSverse. Saya Mer_ASPM
dan saya Ipan_Syah.
Selamat datang ke Debat Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26 Reset Ro-politik Anyone. Sebuah rancangan khas yang kami bawakan kepada anda bersempena dengan Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26. Sorry Pan, sebelum kita nak masuk untuk menceritakan debat kita ni kan, mungkin ada yang baru bersama kita. Ramai yang tertanya-tanya, bilakah tarikh pengundian Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26?
Ya, semestinya sudah lagi beberapa hari saja lagi, Saudara Mir.
Betul.
Itu pada tarikh rasminya adalah pada Sabtu ini dan juga Ahad, Saudara Mir. Yep.
Jadi pastikan anda simpan dua tarikh penting itu sebelum kita nak cerita lebih banyak berkenaan dengan Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26 ini. Simpan tarikh 2 dan 3 Mei. Ada yang tanya, NWS, adakah kedua-dua hari itu kami perlu datang untuk mengundi? Macam mana, sorry Iban?
Kalau dah mengundi tu tak perlulah nak datang lagi.
Right, jadi datang hanya sekali saja. Dan tujuan kita menganjurkan debat Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26 ini dengan tajuk Reset Ro-politik Anyone adalah untuk memberikan pendedahan juga kepada anda apakah yang ingin dibawa oleh wakil-wakil parti yang sudah pun kita jemput pada malam ni. Dan terima kasih juga anda juga dijemput juga untuk bersama dengan kita. Inilah dia antara mereka-mereka yang sudah pun hadir di teater NWS untuk menyaksikan calon-calon mereka ataupun calon-calon perdebatan kita kan untuk mengongsikan ataupun bercerita berkenaan dengan topik kita pada hari ini, Reset Ro-politik Anyone. Kita sudah pun melalui dominan Parti Demokratik Malaysia bertahun-tahun sejak dahulu lagi, dan sebab itulah adakah perlunya kita reset Ro-politik semula dengan mungkin menyerahkan mandat kepimpinan pentadbiran MYSverse kepada parti yang baru. Jadi malam ni kita akan bincangkan, dan bukan saja bersama dengan saya, bukan saja bersama dengan saudara Ipan, saya juga ada wakil moderator kita yang akan bersama dengan kita yang sudah pun anda saksikan di skrin pada waktu ini. Saya mempersilakan with Roblox. How are you, sir?
Very good, Mia. How about you?
Alright, I'm fine. So, Will, what's your feelings facing our party representative? And I believe you tak sabar-sabar dah wanted to roast all of them in this election campaign.
Yeah, I feel it's very good that we have new faces, Mr. Frost Walker and Mr. It's Sri. Previously we had very familiar faces, but now we have new faces that we get to quote-unquote roast. So excited for tonight's debate. Thank you.
Alright, thank you Wif Roblox. Selain daripada saudara Wif, jangan risau, pada malam ni walaupun debat akan diadakan dominannya dalam bahasa Inggeris, tetapi saya dan juga saudara Ipan akan membahaskan dan juga membuat kesimpulan apakah yang telah disampaikan oleh calon-calon debat kita dalam bahasa Melayu. Baiklah, selain daripada Wif, ianya juga akan dibantu oleh co-host ataupun co-moderatornya, iaitu saudara Henzo Jianha. Apa khabar saudara Henzo?
Khabar baik pula.
Right, so Henzo, adakah anda bersedia? Are you ready for have a debate with our political representative in MYSverse general election tonight?
Yeah, it is an honor to be here, and we are expecting quite a fun debate tonight.
Right, so itulah antara kata-kata yang diberikan oleh co-host kita pada malam ini. Jadi teruskan bersedia, pastikan anda bersedia dengan air dan juga popcorn anda, kerana malam ni kita akan menyaksikan calon-calon kita akan berentap dan juga berkongsi pendapat mereka berkenaan dengan topik kita pada hari ini, iaitu Reset Ro-politik Anyone. Alright, so sebelum saya nak menyerahkan pentas debat ini kepada co-host saya nak memperkenalkan dulu calon-calon yang kita bawakan pada malam ini. Mungkin ada di antara anda yang belum lagi mengenali siapakah calon-calon kita. Pada malam ini kita ada 3 wakil yang akan bersama dengan kita untuk membahaskan topik debat kita pada malam ini. Kita mulakan dulu. We started first from Parti Demokratik Malaysia. Hello Mr. Frost Walker, how are you?
Hello, I'm fine, thank you. I'm really glad to be here today. So, saya harapkan semua berjalan dengan lancar lah.
Alright, so first of all, Mr. Frost Walker, thank you so much for participating in this debate. Dan terima kasih juga sebab I think this is your first appearance in media MYSverse. So it's been an honor for NWS for bringing you here. Thank you, Frost. Seterusnya kita bersama dengan wakil daripada Persatuan Anak Malaysia, iaitu Mr. XX It's Ri from PAM. How are you, sir?
Hello. Where my avatar is right there. Anyway, I'm hoping that I can do the best for this debate, and that's all for me.
Alright, adakah tuan berasa nervous pada malam ni tuan untuk kita berhadapan dengan antara 2 parti gegasi yang turun juga bertanding dalam Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26 ni?
Saya rasa nervous sebab ni kali pertama saya dalam debate yang lawan antara 2 parti besar ni.
Menarik. Jadi menarik juga untuk kita saksikan apakah yang akan dibawakan oleh Persatuan Anak Malaysia melalui Mr. Isri. Jadi untuk memulakan pusingan yang pertama ini, mungkin saya nak meminta Mr. Wave untuk kita ceritakan peraturan debat supaya dipahami oleh penonton dan juga wakil daripada parti yang turun pada malam ini. Silakan Wave. The floor is yours.
Thank you, Mir. So, tonight's debate will consist of 3 rounds, with each round ending with 3 minutes. In each round, one party will be given the opportunity to speak, and once the party has finished speaking, an opposing party may respond, challenge, or refute the arguments presented. All participants must remain a respectful tone at all times, as the use of profanity, offensive, or abusive words is strictly prohibited. Most importantly, participants must not rely on AI-generated responses or typical ChatGPT-style answers, as this will reflect a lack of effort and originality. Mir?
Alright. So itu antara peraturan yang dikongsikan. Dalam masa yang sama ada yang bertanyakan kenapa kita tak menjemput pula wakil yang ketiga, iaitu Datuk Sineki Clash, kerana beliau belum lagi bersama dengan kita pada malam ni. Jadi hopefully saya dimaklumkan beliau akan cuba juga untuk sempatkan masa untuk bersama kita. So for first round ni mungkin akan melibatkan perdebatan di antara Parti Demokratik Malaysia dan juga dengan Persatuan Anak Malaysia. Alright, Wave and Henzo, the floor is yours. Kita mulakan pusingan pertama, Reset Ro-politik. Anyone, silakan.
Thank you, Mir. So, our first round will begin with Persatuan Anak Malaysia. XX3, are you here?
Yes, I'm here.
Alright. So, the first question that we will ask you is that you already know that most political observers believe that PDM can still win the election with simply the votes from Lebuh Raya voters. So, why is PAM constantly trying now?
We are constantly trying because we know that our party has a high chance to gain more members. For example, for this general election, we have gained many members, and we are constantly doing campaign on Lebuh Raya and Bandar Raya to gain supporters, and we are confident that we should be the government, yeah, and we will bring more what is called a more realistic and what is it called, and practical policies. That's from me.
Alright, thank you, Mr. X3. But that did not quite answer my question. It's where PDM, we believe that most political observers or critics think PDM can simply just win Lebuh Raya votes. And you say that you believe that you are able to win the Lebuh Raya votes since that you guys are active and whatnot. So why do you think you can fight over PDM with that?
We think we are confident that we can fight against PDM because we are more active in the campaign, such as convoy, and we are constantly doing the campaign, and we met many people to gain the voters, and we are sure that we can against PDM for this general election. That's I guess. Against.
Thank you. Any refuter from PDM? Mr. Frost?
Well, it's quite a general statement, but I don't think I have anything much to refute on that.
Alright, thank you. So one last small question from me. You say that you guys have been doing convoys and all these PDM has been doing this as well. They have been campaigning and on and on. So it practically looks that you guys, all parties, have been doing the same effort. So why do you think that you guys have the leverage over the PDM and GSB in this election? Mr. X3.
Can you repeat the question?
Alright, as I previously said, you guys has talked about that you guys have done convoys, campaignings, and such, and that it is, from my observation, that the other two parties, PDM and GSB, has been doing the same thing. So what makes you think that you guys have been doing more of these campaignings and convoys, and why do you think you have the leverage over PDM in this election?
We are not confident that we can go higher from PDM, but we can we can bersaing with PDM in the Lebuh Raya campaign. Yeah, that's.
You are not confident that you guys can win over PDM?
Wait. What I mean is, I think realistically, PDM has a higher number of voters, but I'll make sure that we can change them in this general election to gain more voters. Yeah, like bersaing, but we are not confident that we can win or something.
So you're confident that you're able to compete with them, but you're not sure
Yes.
that you're able to win.
We are sure that we can win, but it is not tidak dijamin lah. We can compete.
You can compete with them, but you're not sure that you can win. Right. Alright, so that's all for round 1. Very simple, very fast. Over to Mir.
Sorry.
Alright. Terima kasih Wif atas pusingan pertama bersama dengan PAM. Soalannya agak, orang kata apa, agak pedas dan juga panas juga diberikan kepada wakil Persatuan Anak Malaysia. Baiklah, saya dimaklumkan ketibaan Datuk Sinaga Clash bersama kita. How are you, sir?
I'm very fine, thank you. I was speeding all the way up till here, but because I've tried my best to be here as soon as possible, but there were some things that were in the way and some things that had to be done. But I'm here now. Thank you everyone for your patience, and I'm here now. I apologize for my lateness, but rest assured, I'm gonna answer the questions to the best of my capabilities. Thank you.
Alright, thank you Datuk Sinaga Clash. Alright, so I pass the floor to my host, either Wif or Henzu, maybe to choose either Datuk Sinaga Clash or Frost Walker for the next round. The floor is yours.
Okay, thank you, Mayor. So, proceeding to the next round. So, Mr. Frost Walker, I have a question for you. All of the manifestos from every corner of your party, it appears that you have not given any initiative to the judiciary sector, which is the legal sector. Do you think it is not important after it was quite active after the last term? Care to comment on that, sir?
Of course, most definitely. Well, we are not saying it's not important just because it's not in the manifesto. It's just we do not want to reuse what we've already put in our manifesto previously. It's already in the works. So why bring back why bring back something that's already in the motion yet again as if it's a new idea? It just feels like we're reusing the same thing. Yet again, I see no point in actually putting it back in the manifesto, as I said earlier. Maybe you would like to add any supplementary questions?
Like the penal code that we're trying to change, is that some of these substances within the penal code needs some refreshments, because if we look at it historically, the penal code has been here for around 6 years, and although it has experienced refreshments in terms of the punishments that can be given to people who are found guilty, it is usually not exactly enough, because MYSverse has also grown vastly. And for example, since a lot of my positions are based on the fact that we're supposed to allow more freedoms, is such as public assemblies. Public assemblies, as defined, is one that consists of more than 5 people. Even though if we see it from today's perspective, MYSverse has grown so far enough, and a lot of discourses have grown and matured a lot enough to the point that clauses like these cannot sustain itself, otherwise everything would just be considered as protest. This is also how the penal code constructs public assemblies as nothing more than protest, even though public assemblies are a very wide term, such as maybe if you want to do scheduled public discussions at a certain place, that is public assembly. That's why we're trying to reframe the penal code as something that's not just about punishing people, but also as something that can allow people to practice their freedoms more, rather than it being a repressive tool merely.
All right, thank you, sir, for that answer. Does the representative from PAM or the Democrats, do you have any refutations to that statement?
Well, if I may add on, actually, PDM has already been put forward a motion to actually revitalize the penal code by having the law reform committee on from the previous parliament session, if I recall correctly. But the problem is we could not ever come around to actually having a meeting to rediscuss the penal code because of some internal issues with PAM changing its representatives constantly. To the point we actually couldn't really have a meeting, because whenever we were to have a meeting for the law reform committee to reform the penal codes and reform the laws and everything regarding, they would either not have a representative or would not be able to be present during meetings, and this was asked specifically by GSB at the time. If I'm correct, please correct me if I'm wrong, that all parties should be involved during the reformation of the laws and the penal code. So this is part of the reason why we are been unable to actually put up proper reform towards the penal code at the current moment.
Okay, so that's quite an accusation towards PM. So the PM representative, do you have any comments on the internal issue of your party that leads to the committee being unstable somewhat? Yeah, hello.
Hello. Can you repeat the question?
So the PDM representative have mentioned that PAM was facing an internal issue that caused the law reform committee to be quite unstable. Do you have any refutation on that?
About this, PAM is not having any internal issues. We are currently reforming the party under the new leadership, which means we are finding our pelapis. Yeah,
Wait, sorry to stop you there, but that's not my question. My question was the law reform committee in the parliament. The Democratic representative already said that PM was facing an internal issue at the time, which causes the law reform committee to not be able to work at full capacity. So do you have any comments on that?
about that, I agree that PAM was having an internal issues at that time for the law reforms commit in the parliament, right?
Yeah.
So my comment is well, my comment is we agree that at that time we failed to choose the right law reform community, law reform commit. So we make sure that for this parliament, the 26th parliament, we choose the right people for the law reform community commit.
Alright, thank you, Persatuan Anak Malaysia. So let's move back to GSB, Datuk Siniti Clash. Do you have any comments or refutations of the statements made by PDM and PAM?
Okay, yeah. So as PDM said, PDM said that the discussions on the penal code was delayed because things such as maybe instabilities in PAM. But I question this premise of the fact that government business suddenly stops just because one party is having maybe an instability, or maybe the party was unable to send a representative, and then it suddenly halts the governmental process, even though that governmental process fundamentally should not stop and should not be halted just because an internal issue of a party hinders it from doing so. So I believe that discussions should have been run, and I think that discussions of the penal code doesn't just happen on 1 day or 2 days or 3 or even just 3 days, but it has to happen gradually, and it doesn't just immediately happen. Yet it doesn't just stop. It doesn't just stop the progress when someone is suddenly gone, when someone is missing. That is, I believe that is not a reasonable answer to give, especially when we can discuss the penal code more gradually, and maybe perhaps involving stakeholders such as maybe from the judiciary, from also legal experts, and much more. So I think this kind of reasoning doesn't hold up, at least to our opinion.
All right, thank you, Datuk. So, the representative Mr. Frostwalker, do you have any refutation?
Yes, of course, most definitely. So, if I can recall correctly, each time we were trying to, or one of the attempts we actually made to call the committee up for discussion, GSB immediately halted it, saying, please, let's wait for the representative from PAM. And also, may I please ask that, so you're saying one person that were basically out of the whole discussion, you're saying because PAM was not actually able to join, we should completely ignore them? Isn't that completely against your
No,
policy
that
of
is
fairness?
completely, that is
Excuse me,
misconstruing what I said.
excuse me, you're going against your turn. This
Sorry,
is my
that
turn
is
to speak,
misconstruing what
not
I
yours.
said. I'm sorry, I cannot
No,
accept that, but I will
please,
answer after.
let me speak. This is not your turn. This is your problem, not just here, but also in Parliament. Please, understand the order of speaking. And as I was saying, where was I again before I was rudely interrupted? Yeah, GSB prides itself on fairness, yet here they are saying that one whole party should be excluded from discussions. Doesn't this seem hypercritical, ironic? Ladies and gentlemen, we can clearly see here where their priorities lie. They can switch back from front and forward depending on what is convenient to them. As I always say, pusingan roundabout sahaja parti GSB. That would we can proceed forward. That's all from me.
Okay. So I want to quickly just come back to the first question about the judiciary. So from Frost Walker, you said that it is your priority to put the judiciary. As you said, your plans are in motion, but you did not include it in your manifesto. Why did you not include it in your manifesto if it's your priority?
As said earlier, people already kept arguing that we always reuse our manifesto, and since it's already a plan in motion, and if we put it again on this manifesto, yet again people are going to be criticizing us for it. That's one of the main reasons. But besides the point, a plan in motion should not really be talked about as a new plan, should it?
Yes, but in your manifesto is supposed to contain your old plans for the future. Even though if it's a old plan from your previous term, you could say that you're going to bring it to a new term. And when you say that people are going to criticize you because it's an old plan on your manifesto, it's not really a concern because you're trying to improve the quote-unquote nation. You're not trying to win the hearts of the people. You're trying to improve the nation. You're trying to make the judiciary better or what your plans are better, right?
Yes, of course, that is our priority. But at the same time, as I mentioned earlier, a plan in motion does not really need further emphasis.
Alright, I've been instructed to that a member on the stage wants to speak, specifically Datuk Cynically Clash.
Of course.
Okay, let's just get back to the words that were misconstrued. Firstly, I think the presence of GSB representatives would have been, I think it would, government business would have continued if stakeholders in the penal code were involved, because I think that PAM, either PAM, PDM, GSB's presence when it comes to discussing matters of, say, the penal code they have to also be highly dependent on stakeholders, such as stakeholders who may have some sort of involvement in the penal code. And this is why this is our concern of the PDM government, is that PDM government, when it comes to making decisions, they do not approach the stakeholders first, such as judges, such as legal experts, such as lawyers, etc. Instead, they resort to they have to draft it first and then they ask. Jadi it's sort of like lakukan dulu, pikir nanti. Even though government takes time, government takes planning. So that's practically not the case. So when you say that, PAM by continuing government business, and you are excluding PAM. No, that is not what I'm saying. That is completely and maliciously misconstruing what I said. What I'm saying is that government business should not be halted just because something inefficient is hindering the process. The process should be efficient as possible so that both stakeholders and the people can have a sense of clarity when it comes to public policy. So that's what I'm trying to say. Thank you.
Yeah, Mr. Walker, do you wish to?
Yes. Okay, so may I have a slight, flashback? During our parliament meeting originally regarding this issue, GSB specifically requested that we have a shared discussion regarding these things. And also, wouldn't it be better for us to have a draft and then refer to them and make sure, so it would actually streamline the process a lot more. They can say, okay, these things are, yes, we agree with these, we don't agree with these, go back to the drawing board, rather than them having to look at we ask them then discuss it, we ask them then discuss it. It's counterintuitive. We are supposed to discuss the things if everyone within the assembly already agrees, then we bring it up to them and ask if they also agree. Isn't that more efficient rather than us asking them if they agree and then coming back at the assembly and the assembly doesn't agree? It's more counterintuitive to do whatever Dato Cynically Clash just said. And again, I would like to also emphasize, GSB is the one that emphasized that we need joint discussions on all three fronts instead of just the government doing the law reforms. They said all three parties need to be involved in every single part of the discussions for the law reforms. And now they're saying that the government should move on forward without discussing with the other two parties. which is completely opposite of what the first ever statement that came out of them, that came out from them during the assembly in parliament. So please, Dato, can you please tell me, why are you changing your opinion so rapidly just so it's convenient for you to debate against me here? Is that how cheap your standing is, where you can move your standing here and there? Where you can move your standing here and there depending on what's convenient for you and what's better for you to debate against someone? Please, Dato, I would like to hear from you.
Okay, may I respond? Sorry, just asking so I can respond as. Okay, so okay, thank you. So firstly, one of GSB's ideas, one of GSB's drawing board ideas is that one of it was talking about how we can propose white papers into policy making. What is a white paper? White paper is sort of like the draft for the public policies that we want to apply and we want to realize for the people. Instead of directly writing a bill and then like giving it to people, because a bill is compared to between white papers and a bill, white paper considers the opinions of the people, the opinions of the stakeholders, and then but it's not yet a concrete policy. Bills, on the other hand, are a process of the legislative product. So it has to be proposed to Parliament if we want to. It has to be proposed into Parliament, and it should not be the point of discussions. It should not be just. It should not, because a bill is supposed to be the complete form of discussions. It should be the byproduct, the result of discussions, not discussion itself. The discussion should happen when we are discussing the policy, and how do we ensure our policy stands through that white paper. And then also on the fact that the PDM representative talked about how BGSP has changed stance. PDM would have a better time holding up this argument if its partiality was on actually being the opposition instead of LARPing as the opposition. Because I'm not saying that PAM should be excluded, and this is no disrespect to PAM. I believe that PAM should be included in all discussions. But other than that, stakeholders should also be involved. And when it comes to bureaucracies like this, it should not even parties attend or not, whether GSP attends or not, as long that we have the opinions of the stakeholders, we believe that the things that we want to propose are already there. It's just that political parties, baik dari pembangkang atau kerajaan, they are there to control the discussion and control how the clauses are worded, because what the government sees doesn't mean that what the government sees isn't the same as what the opposition sees. There are different perspectives to how we do it, and that's why opposition parties are supposed to be there as the control measure. Jadi ketika pembangkang datang dan mungkin di esok harinya dia tidak hadir, that's fine as long the bureaucracy is efficient, and as long that the opposition parties are there to represent, and especially because GSB and PAM has cooperated as a united opposition front, that every time we do something, we always discuss with each other on what positions we want to take. That is something that PDM cannot understand, a united opposition. So I think they would have a better time holding up their argument had their partiality been on protecting democracy and also empowering opposition parties than just merely trying to be government for the sake of government. So thank you for that, and it's quite funny that you've talked about it. So
all right, so let's give chance. Let's give chance to the Parti Anak Malaysia. Persatuan Anak Malaysia. We have been ignoring PAM for quite a while. Both parties have been mentioning PAM either in opposition discussion or in the debate questions or their refutations. So, Mr. Iksri, yes, are you there?
Yes, I'm here. So I
You
would
may
like to
wait.
go ahead. Go ahead.
For clarification, you may respond in both Malay or English.
Yeah, I know.
Whatever suits you. Okay.
So I would like to say that the party internal issues doesn't doesn't affect us in the parliament. It may affect us a few. However, from what I've known, the law reform commit was proposed on 31 December, and the first resignation was first in the February, right? PAM were involved before the February, before the February. So it doesn't fair to say that PAM were involved in the law reform commits, or or saying that we are not saying that we just speak anything in the law reform commit. And actually, law reform commit has a lot of time to propose the bills, a draft, because the parliament was dissolved in April. So I guess that's because it doesn't fair to say that Palm barely involved in any, or saying that we are not, saying that we are not. I guess that's
Alright, may I start off by saying terima kasih
No.
atas listening? Huh?
No.
Sorry.
All right, we'll wrap up that round because
Okay.
we move on to a different round here.
Baik, terima kasih kepada host dan juga co-host terlebih dahulu. Kami di National Malaysia ingin memohon maaf sekiranya ada berlaku masalah teknikal untuk sepanjang platform penyiaran National Malaysia pada malam ni. Sorry Pan, kita menyaksikan satu pentas yang agak panas, satu pentas yang agak bahangnya yang terasa kan, sampai saya dengar pelbagai bahasa yang terkeluar pada malam ini. Jadi pastinya cukup menarik untuk kita saksikan bagaimana parti masing-masing mempunyai pendirian mereka yang tersendiri, pendirian mereka yang sangat-sangat berpegang kuat, terutamanya dalam menjawab salah faham dan sebagainya. Kalau saudara Ipan lihat sendiri, di antara ketiga-tiga parti ini, terutamanya kita melihatkan tadi perdebatan panas di antara Parti Demokratik Malaysia dan juga Gerakan Suara Bangsa, di antara Frost Walker 2787 dan juga Datuk Sneaky Clash, yang ada sedikit pergeseran berkenaan dengan polisi yang dibawakan, terutamanya prestasi kedua-dua pihak apabila menjadi sebahagian daripada ahli parlimen pada Pilihan Raya MYSverse ataupun pada Parlimen MYSverse ke-25 yang lalu. Alright, so tanpa kita buang masa Pan, kita teruskan ke pusingan yang seterusnya. Silakan Wif dan juga Henzu Jonha, kita hangatkan lagi pusingan Reset Politik Anyone pada malam ni. Silakan.
Thank you, Mir. Alright, so let's move on to in-game part of your manifestos. So as an avid transport user in Bandar in real life as well, I really feel confused when I read all of your manifestos on transport. So we'll start with the portion where from PDM. Alright, so Frost, you here?
Yes, I am.
Alright, so from what I see, your party has only claimed for transport is custom plates and transportation fares. So your entire manifesto is based on fares, and fares. So how would the transportation fare help transport the transport industry? As you said, it'll be organized to promote public transport. We've already seen multiple transport fairs in the past, and yet nothing's changed. And what are you going to do to make this quote-unquote transport fair happen if in the first place where there is not enough activity to sustain bandarians?
Of course, we are aware of the slowed activity that is going on within the departments that are responsible for transports, like the departments are responsible for the transport agencies and all of that. But we hope by hosting this fair, we could probably promote more of these transport agencies to act and make them take initiative to actually put their name out and actually get active again. Of course, prior to the fairs, we'll also be trying to ramp up more activity by hosting more smaller things, more smaller initiatives that are not big enough to actually make it into the manifesto, but there will be some initiatives that will be moving forward, that will be held to help spark a movement in the gears that have clogged up and make the transport industry slowly more active, and then with the fair, pushing it out for people to actually know how the transport industry has improved by that time. Of course, the transport industry as of now is quite slow, so we really need to push some sort of effort to actually make it active once more. So yeah, before we could actually move into the fair, there will be some changes, but those changes or those initiatives did not really make it as big into the manifesto because they are not, as I said, a big priority, because we saw that the main issues at the moment, not really to say the main issues, but some things that could be addressed or more complaints were voiced out were about the number plate system being quite confusing for most citizens to buy their number plates and everything. So the transport minister or the shadow cabinet transport minister wanted to emphasize a little bit on that, since it's a major change that would happen. And another thing with the transport fair, it is the final picture before the final picture or the main goal. I'm open to any supplementary questions.
Okay. So you say that you're going to make initiatives for this transport fair. So I am assuming these initiatives are like Color Sunday and etc., right?
Somewhat, but I'm not.
Okay,
I'm
so
not
how
sure.
has these
Okay.
Color Sundays been effective? Have they been effective?
Of course.
Do you think?
Okay, may I please talk about this? Yes, Colorless Sundays, that initiative was not that effective. We will be trying much more effective measures moving on. We're not going to use the same measures that have been proven ineffective, because we learn from our mistakes and we improve. Or at
Okay.
least the new generation of government will improve.
Okay, so these initiatives, what again? The new initiatives other than Carless Sunday, such as?
This we are yet to outline properly yet. We are still in the phases of crafting these ideas.
So you say
As
you want to transport fair. You say that you will have initiatives, but you don't know what these initiatives are, right?
we have them, it's just
You're
we
drafting them.
need to make sure they're actually good, so that we can actually say it out loud, rather than us saying something that is not complete and we're not sure if we're even going to bring out, and then it turning out to be a complete disaster in the end and we can't actually push it out. Then it would be even more disastrous. It's better we properly discuss whether it's possible or not and then put it out into the public. We don't want to put half efforted measures out without any proper discussion or any concrete any concrete assurance that we could actually push it out efficiently. When an idea is not mature enough to be presented, of course it can't be presented because it may not come in as a final product, or it would be altered a bit too much from the actual first version, and people would say, oh, this promise that they put was never fulfilled or whatever. So we need to make sure a final clear-cut idea has come out from the discussion before we can actually present it in public.
Okay, so you're still in the planning stage for this thing lah. Alright.
Yes, correct.
Okay, so my next question will be about the number plate thing. After that, I will open the floor to GSB or PAM to talk about their own transport policies and to refute yours, say how theirs is better, etc., etc. So you say that the current number plate system is confusing, but your policy does not state how it will make it less confusing. You say that you will increase slot amounts for custom plates. You say you will introduce plate beating systems with simpler system. So how does this make it less confusing? You're just increasing the amount of slots for custom plates, and even more, you're introducing plate beading, which was already a confusing thing in the first place, which was taken down or let's say retracted because of how confusing it is and the compliance with the terms of services of Roblox and MYSverse itself. So how does this make it less confusing?
Okay, so for the plate bidding, a new system has already been discussed that will be put into motion once we achieve the government position. That is more simpler and does not actually go against the terms of service. That is basically the whole point of me saying making it less confusing, because the system was so complicated at the first time, and it even, as you said earlier, went against TOS. What we are trying to do is actually make a system that does not have the problems you said earlier. And about the number plate, what was the second one again? The increase of number plate slots is really not really an effort towards making the system less confusing. It's more of just an extra perk for people who want to buy more than one number plate, just like in real life, for their additional vehicles. That's all.
So just a quick yes or no. So you're just going to make it less confusing, you're reintroducing plate beading, but just a simpler version that you already have. Just yes or no?
No, we are reworking the system.
Okay, thank you. Alright, I open the floor to the other candidates, GSB or PAM, to talk about their topic.
Okay, may I?
Yep, go ahead.
Okay, but firstly, I would like just to quickly mention pepatah Mir tadi. Tadi saya dengar Mir rasa panas debat nih, but I'm just say this, panas boleh panas, tapi kita biasa-biasa saja lah. Tak payah terkejut, dan juga ingat aja kata speed, santai, santai aja. Lanjut kepada transport, to the transport policies is that let's just say to counter this as productively as possible is that PDM's idea is not. We won't say that it is impossible, but it is just incredibly inefficient. Why? Because firstly, you have to consider whether there's enough will from Hornbill in order to apply these plates to happen in Bandaraya. Different to the GSB policies is that we want to orient it around stakeholders. They are willing to develop the transport sector. We believe that yes, policies can be negotiated with Hornbill, but that will take a lot of time, and the fact that it is inefficient, it is also very, very hard to convince as to why Hornbill should accept these kinds of policies. That's why GSB policies are oriented on creating a better experience for all. It's not just about accessibility. It's not about giving people access. It's not just about also giving people the faster times to get to point A to point B, but also enhancing the experience that players should get. Because a lot of the things that we are doing is very highly political. Instead of trying to assess what things we can do to make the players experience better when it comes to transporting around Bandar. For example, we can discuss with My Transit to create to also introduce new modes of transportation other than buses and taxis, because taxis itself is more or less equivalent to a private vehicle, even though it is operated publicly. We want to introduce things such as microbuses. Those things are developed, and those things can be introduced the same way as buses are introduced as the norm of public transportation in Bandaraya. So that's the kind of orientation that we must focus ourselves on. It's not just about promising that that license plates we should allow players to do license plate biddings, because I question the premise of the fact how can players, the average Bandaraya player, can even be affected by these kinds of policies. Only people who can access Discord can do this. We have to but put our orientation on players' experience in general. Tidak sekadar janji politik begitu. Thank you.
Okay, Dato' Syndicate Clash, I will just ask you a few questions about your manifesto. I'll ask it all at once so you can just answer. Alright, so first, the most important one, encouraging walkability. This is the Ministry of Transportation. So how does the Ministry of Transportation want to encourage walkability in Bandaraya? How does it correlate? And when you say you want to encourage walkability, if I just hold Shift and W on my keyboard, I can run from let's say the bus terminal. I can just run to the HCC spawn to spawn my vehicle or whatever it is. I don't need to figure out, I need to cross this road or cross that road. I can just walk in a straight line. So, and then after that, you say you want to introduce new modes of transportation, such as microbuses or electric buses. First of all, how's the relation here? I mean, it's Bandar Sumaya or wherever Ro-politics will go. So, how does it relate? It's not like we are going to be using real life fuel where we need to pay actual gas prices. And microbuses and electric buses, we already have that in Bandar. Transit KL has its van, Transit KL has its electric bus, First Bus has its microbus, and such on. Alright, and then lastly on harmonizing routes. So I've spoken to your candidate Nakinami earlier this week about it. He said that you guys will be making the routes known, making it researching and making it efficient for buses. So how are you going to make all these companies just be using these specific routes? And how does, and coming back to my walkability, I can just walk from the bus terminal to HCC. Just I don't need to run. If you are talking about real life, buses are created to make it so that it's easier to transport. But if you're talking about Bandar, buses are slower than walking actually, because they have to stop and all, and they have to follow these rules. And if you're talking about Bandar, there's no actual stamina for this. So what's the point of harmonizing routes when there are other efficient methods such as, I don't know, walking? Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And that's an actually good point. That's why I discussed this heavily with my shadow cabinet. Is that, look, if people can just shift W, then we wouldn't have to need all of this. So what justifies this? Firstly, on the matter of encouraging walkability. On encouraging walkability, the principle is not just that if you can walk on it, then it is suddenly walkable. Because the fact is that in order for something to be walkable, it has to be accessible by everyone, and it has to be motivating people to walk. So for example, we see that social places are centralized around one part of area. For example, community retail, which has the benefit of Kuala Lumpur bus terminal. For example, Plaza Rakyat, which in the past had its own glory days. So encouraging walkability isn't just a matter of telling people, hey, they should walk, but also about improving social spaces around us, so that all of these social places can have can have a purpose where people can visit it, So just because you can walk on it doesn't mean that it is walkable. And also this is a systemic proposal that we don't want, that it is not limited to just physical planning, but also on the matter of making a better information system like maps. This is connected to harmonizing routes, which means that we need to assess which routes will need it, particularly those that are maybe near car dealerships, those that are near spawns, and etc. So from there, we can also create an information system like maps that are accessible for everyone, so that everyone is aware of the route information that they want to take from their spawn to the destination they want to take. And on the matter of introducing modes of transport, viewing the introduction of new modes of transport should not just be viewed as, oh, this is slow and this is fast. Because we've also tried to deliberate on that fact. We also want to introduce the fact that people can experience as much variety as possible. It's not just about modes of transport taking you from point A to point B as fast as possible, but also about giving them a good experience about Bandaraya. So that's the kind of orientation that we are trying to take. Thank you.
Alright, so I'm informed that Mr. Frostwalker wants to talk.
Of course, yes. So, Dato, I would like to talk a bit about whatever you saw earlier. Even though you seem quite confused on your own policies, let me just backtrack on what you said earlier. So, you said about introducing more modes of transport, correct?
Ya tadi saya cakap apa? Ya betul.
Okay, quite a snappy response, tapi
Ya
saya nak
betul.
tanya. Okay, sabar. Tapi saya nak tanya, apa modes of transport yang kita tak ada dah that does not need major development? EV cars as taxis ada dah. Eco-friendly option lah. Lepas tu EV buses, as Worth already said earlier. Buses already exist. Microbuses already exist. If I'm correct, probably even vans exist at this point. Normal taxis, cheap economic cars turned into taxis, luxury cars turned into taxis also probably exist, like the BYD. Again, also is a form of eco-transport as well. So I don't understand, what more do you want? You want monorails? You want KTMB, those type of systems? That brings to another problem. Development. You said we should not be relying on Hornbill, yet here you are suggesting something that requires to drag the development team in. So it's unclear of your standing here lah. Moving forward, lagi satu benda lah saya nak cakap ni. About walkability. This is a big question lah with your policies when it comes to Minister of Transport encouraging walking. Lagi satu benda you said, if a surface is walkable, then you should be walking. So you're basically promoting gay walking also lah, macam ni kan, Dato'. You're saying, so jalan ni boleh jalan je lah atas tu, kan? Macam tu ke, Dato'? Moreover, lepas tu, you were talking about if a place is walkable, so you can just walk, you don't need to use public transports. You've basically been arguing with yourself lah the whole time. Yang tu yang saya rasa pelik lah, Dato', sebab you macam bergaduh dengan diri sendiri je kat sini, berdebat dengan diri sendiri. You cakap sesuatu benda, lepas tu you nafikan balik. You cakap sesuatu benda, you nafikan balik. Lepas tu you cakap benda yang dah tadi cakap impossible, you tak nak buat, tapi you cakap you nak buat juga. Saya confused, Dato'. Dato' pun confused ke pasal you punya plans? Sebab genuinely speaking, I'm confused of what you're even talking about here. You go back and forward on saying yes to something, no to something, and then agreeing with it right after. So what's going on, Dato'? Boleh tak elaborate sikit on some of the points yang saya sentuh tadi?
okay, I think it's not me that's being confused with my policies, but PDM that cannot understand that policy should be community-based. So let me just explain this. And it's a good point that you've mentioned monorails because we have also known that Bandaraya is being developed to include rail transport. And things like these are important. Why? Because the government GSB also considers this. In the public transportation matters, there is a kind of a transportation hierarchy between for example, taxis, buses, and then finally rail-based transport. So I believe that a lot of these public transportations can complement each other. For example, microbuses can also serve as feeders to the KLBT. That's not necessarily wrong, right? And we also know that CR itself is a very vibrant community place, and because it's a vibrant community place, we can also set KLBT as the central transit hub for all people to visit and for all people to transport into and from. On the matter of Hornbill, no, that is completely misconstruing what I said. I didn't say Hornbills shouldn't be dragged or whether they should not be included in government policies. Not at all. Firstly, My Transit is a separate company. Yes, it is owned by the administration, but it is a separate company which can develop technologies, which can develop tech by itself. And again, on the map, similar to when you talked about license plates, if you want to
But Dato,
If you
Dato,
no,
I would
okay,
like
hold
to.
on. If you want to have policies with Hornbill, then have an incentive to improve player experience. You cannot just say that Hornbill should do this, Hornbill should do that. Instead, you should be able to do. Instead, you should provide an incentive to Hornbill so that they can make that. How?
Please wrap up.
By telling them that you should improve players' experience. That's why we are proposing this. That's simple.
Okay, Dato, just one supplementary question.
Wait.
Sabar. Okay. I've been informed that Palm wants to have a talk. Let's give him the opportunity to, as it's just been you two talking back and forth. Alright. So Palm, go ahead.
Okay, thank you. Don't worry. I will not ganggu korang. So I would like to elaborate our manifesto about transportation. First, a journey through MYSverse. Promote the use of public transportation while highlighting attraction in MYSverse by key activities and city tours. Macam mana nak buat dia boleh daripada tarikan MYSverse buat lawatan ni. So that we need a active company, an active transportation company, and an active bus driver. For the second one is centralized VDL Academy. Most people ask, no. The driver of any e-hailing or bus will undergo a training in their own company, transportation company that are registered with Suruhanjaya Syarikat MYSverse. That's where and the VDL Academy targets for contoh lah. Kita dah ada kita dah kerja bus dekat satu company A. So kita nak masukkan company B. Dari entry pun belum tentu kena boleh terus drive. So kita nak buat racing VDL tu, mana-mana company pun dah tak bayar training dah lepas tu. So yang for the last one, MYS Boost. Apa benda MYS Boost? Which is raise the profile of transportation company. For now, our transportation company dah macam memang kurang. Kita tak nampak pun kat berita kan. Dalam bandar pun dah sikit. So kita nak berikan penghargaan award kepada company yang aktif supaya dia boleh sumbang kepada idea pertama kita, iaitu Journey Through MYSverse. So benda ni akan buatkan promosi persaingan yang lebih sihat daripada seorang-seorang kan. So transportation kita boleh aktif. So that's from PAM.
Okay, so in the interest of time, I'm just going to ask you one question about the VDL. So many parties, GSB, PDM, they've all tried to implement this VDL and not have actually properly succeeded. So even me, as one of the persons who actually first looked at the VDL, we actually never figured this out properly. So what makes you think that you are the one that can figure out VDL better than all of us?
So we can do better than others because we bring you our idea is practical, because our idea only needs to what we say. Kita nak ada satu standard in the VDL lesson. Contoh saya explain tadi, syarikat A pergi syarikat B, tapi dia dah ada arahan dah daripada government untuk yang direct entry tu tak payah dah nak ambil training ke apa. Lepas tu semua orang mesti dah tahu dah apa dia punya kerja, nak bawa driving a taxi or bus. So lepas tu kita nak memastikan standard kita sama dengan semua syarikat. Tak ada syarikat yang ada lebih kurikulum. Kita ni government will cooperate with the existing transportation company to make sure this practical idea happen. Yeah, that's
Okay, so you just repeated exactly what the past few administrations have actually tried to do. So it's not, you have not properly answered my question, but in the interest of time, we have to move on. So Mir.
Baik. Semakin lama semakin panas, semakin kita tidak boleh duduk diam kan Saudari Ipan kan. Kita mendengarkan perbahasan berkenaan dengan pelbagai manifesto dan sebagainya, dan kita pun dengar macam-macam sisi pandangan dan sebagainya. Saudari Ipan, mungkin anda boleh sharekan sedikit tentang cara bagaimana mereka hendak mengundi calon terbaik ataupun pembahas terbaik pada malam ni. Silakan Saudari Ipan.
Ya, boleh sahaja tekan di bit.ly/MYSverse 26 dan kemudian anda akan diberi satu form lah untuk mengundi parti yang manakah yang anda rasakan yang terbaik pada debat pada malam ini. Yep.
Jadi jangan lupa untuk mengundi siapakah pembahas terbaik anda pada malam ini di pautan yang kami sediakan, dan juga kami telah perkongsikan di server MYSverse dan juga di server rasmi kami. Tarikh tutup untuk undian pembahas terbaik ini adalah pada 6 petang esok. Jadi kepada mereka yang mengikuti secara langsung daripada awal tadi sehinggalah sekarang, masih lagi saya terima kasih banyak kerana sudah pun menonton National Wire Service saluran rasmi MYSverse. Baiklah, kita pun sebenarnya sudah pun berada di pusingan yang terakhir, pusingan penutup, pusingan kesimpulan. Silakan Wirf dan juga Henzo tamatkan Reset Ro-politik anyone.
Alright, thank you, May. So this is a question for PDM. So in your manifesto, more specifically in the section of Ministry of Communication and Multimedia, I was made aware that you were the minister, if I'm not wrong. Correct me if I'm wrong. You were the Minister of Communication and Multimedia for a bit. Were you?
No, I was the Minister of Foreign Affairs and Home Affairs, and previously worked as the Deputy for Finance and Defense.
Alright, so whoever give that information to me, I'm going. You are cook. Okay, so The question would be that in the section we have the State Media Act of 2026. So this bill entails and a system where a media organization is appointed annually, okay, to transparent and merit-based selection process. So the question would be, what prevents the government, the next government, maybe it's not your government, to simply revoke the designation of said state media when the coverage becomes too unfavorable?
Wait, so you're talking. Can I please confirm that this is your question? So you're asking how we can stop from the potential next government from actually turning this policy into a form of suppression? Is that what I'm getting here?
Yes, sir.
Alright, so give me a second. It's the. Okay, give me. Alright. Again, apologies. I'll try my best to answer this to the best of my ability since this is not my portfolio. So, of course, as every act is enacted in Parliament, there will definitely be measures made for it to not be a form of oppression in the future when it gets misused eventually. There will be precautions taken beforehand to mitigate these sort of what do you call this, negative effects that could happen before they happen. So before we introduce this act, most definitely we will make sure to review it multiple times and check every gray area there is and every loophole that could exist and patch them up to our best ability. And if we do find any moving forward, we will definitely re-amend the act time to time to avoid any misuse from happening and this law turning against itself and becoming a form of oppression. Because Parti Demokratik Malaysia believes in proper media transparency and media transparency so that the people know what's going on around them. As you can, we try our best to always say what the government does and everything, and also we never ever block any media from reporting anything that's controversial regarding either the government or regarding any other member. If it's true, it has factual backing, we will allow them. But we will allow them even if they don't have factual backing because they have the rights to do so. It's basically up to, of course, there are rules against what they can post and can't post. Any supplementary questions to help me clarify and get my point across much better, please? I would really like some supplementary questions, yeah.
So, let's say the state media at the time, whoever it may be, decides to release a documentary or an article, whatever, that criticizes the government. How will you act? Let's say, to ensure that said party would not, I mean, that said media outlet would not be in a sense of what do you call that, a light blacklist of
Of
sorts.
course, criticism should be allowed. We are a democracy after all. The act will allow for criticism towards the government or any members of the institution except for the monarchy, of course. The three R's are not, we are not supposed to really be discussing about the three R issues, so I'll not be touching that. But anything regarding governments like ketidakpuasan ke apa-apa yang criticism apa-apa tentang kerajaan, of course akan dibenarkan in this act. It will be allowed. Tetapi perlu ada the sufficient evidence. Jika tiada bukti, maka tuduhan itu tidak sah lah. Perlu ada bukti untuk penuduhan. That will be a very core value that will be in our act. Because without proper evidence, anyone can say anything. This is a very, very vague example. I could say Dato Cynical, for example, is, I don't know, a lobbyist for some organization. You see, I have no backing. But but if there's no laws preventing this, I could go around saying that. Of course, no one may not believe me, or some people may believe me. That's on the off chance if they do or don't. But again, these type of things need to be controlled, don't they? So this act needs to be in place. It's not a
Alright.
form of oppression, lah. It's a form
So-
of
so-
controlling what should and shouldn't be said.
Yeah, sorry to stop you there, but due
Of
to
course, no
time
problem.
constraints, I point the floor to CSB or PM to review. Either party, the GSB, Datuk Sneaky Clash, or it's Ray. Do you have any refutation to that statement?
Datuk Cynical.
Datuk Sneaky?
Let's hope he did not get us attack.
No, okay. So, PM, does PM has any refutation? Going once.
Okay, maybe like I didn't want to respond, but perhaps since I heard I was mentioned as Datuk cynically, I perhaps should correct the PDM representative. It's called Datuk Clash, not Datuk cynical. Thank you.
We have no comment towards the statement.
Alright, so moving on to another topic by GSB. You mentioned some sort of a civilian-based entity to supervise the press. What do you mean by this? Is it the national, the NUJM did try to supervise the countless of media outlets that we have, but as you've known, NUJM is quite non-functional at this moment. So what will this civilian-based entity be, and what is its purpose, its main duties, or its main mission?
Okay, perhaps we should go from the problem first. The problem is that government powers are very strong when it comes to determining whether a media company is allowed or not allowed to publish something. And we also understand that NUJM's function fundamentally serves to protect journalists and workers, not necessarily to grade them or to deliberate on issues that may be pertain to ethical issues. Yet, NUJM can only be present to protect the people that are within them. So there should be a proper separation between NUJM and also this entity. Now, what do I mean by this entity? This entity that will supervise the press serves practically as the recommended body to the government as to whether a press has maybe violated certain codes of ethics. This is a concern of past governments. Why? Because the government has a lot of power when it comes to punishing media companies without actually considering that their writings may be for the public interest, and maybe as such the government as in the executive branch cannot totally determine whether something is public interest or not. Only the public can. That's why it's important to have this civilian-based entity. Why should it be comprised of civilians? Because of that thing, to ensure that this entity is independent from the government, and to ensure that when it comes to deliberating where companies have violated certain ethics and whatnot, it was done by the public, not by government institutions. So by ensuring this independence, we can ensure that media companies are able to operate with the freedoms that they are afforded with. Jadi, of course, we need to separate ones that protect the journalists and ones that deliberate whether journalists have violated the code of ethics. And we need to ensure that there is independence of journalists, independence of media companies to report, to inform, and also to gather as much information as possible without without fear of maybe being censored and without fear of being repressed. So that is our
Okay,
consideration when it comes to the entity.
Okay, so two supplementary questions. Are you implying that the MCMC or the commission that oversees multimedia is not impartial? And then what defines a civilian in your mind?
Firstly, the MCMC is a government body. Therefore, it works in the government's interest, and of course it acts as a censorship body, and of course we have to assume the very best that MCMC is working for the public interest, that it is trying to censor information in the name of public interest. However, there are times when the MCMC would censor media companies because it directly conflicts with the government's interest. And that's why we need a civilian body in order to ensure that independence. So governments can have the opinion of the public and not just the opinion from the top, from those who may ask that, oh, this press company has breached us. We think it's harmful for us, even if it's for public interest. Censor this media company. That's not how it's supposed to work. And on the matter of who is comprised of these entities, it should comprise of the people who are notable in the journalistic scene. Of course, people like such as from NWS who can represent state media, and people who are also representing private medias from all sorts of companies, not just from one company, but also everyone. And there may be also independent journalists who are maybe seasoned and can also participate in supervising the press to ensure that the journalistic field is as healthy and independent as possible away from government intervention. Because the very main point of journalism is to inform. It's not about necessarily being concerned with the rules that it has. It is concerned with with informing, with reporting to the public interest, because journalism owes to the public interest, not to the institutional interest. Thank you.
Okay, just quickly, because Heinzo has went to the toilet, I would like to quickly just ask a question. Afterwards, Frost will ask his question. So you say that what's it called? This civilian entity, civilian body must consist of seasoned journalists. So how is it? Let's say this journalist gets into trouble. So how is it that? What's going to happen there? And you say that this body should consist of journalists from various bodies such as NWS, this and that. So how are they all going to get to a decision if all of them are conflicting? Say like politics. This is practically politics. If you have people from different bodies, they're going to be conflicting on on their opinions. So whose opinion are we supposed to take as final?
Of course, I understand that the concerns that maybe we are being centralized on the public, but there's also that in this kind of issue, we're framing it as something that the public should be aware on and have a bigger role on. When it comes to maybe appointing members of the press into this entity, of course, the government should have some sort of say in who and some opinion when it comes to deliberations, but it should not have the total and full control of the deliberation. It should not take one person. It should not take one person and one institution to decide, oh, this person should be punished. No, it should be that we have that orientation towards the public. That journalists are there to do their job and not there necessarily as someone who is a communicator of the government. This is something that we have to understand, because when it comes to giving a say, we have to balance it with the public, because the government already has enough power that even public participation also threatens the very existence of the ruling power. So that's the kind of things that we have to pay attention to. So when it comes to who can be there, the public should have more say in who gets to be there, and the government should also be and the government's opinions should also be discussed and be deliberated on, because they also have because fundamentally this also pertains to how the government views media companies.
Okay, thank you, Miss Dato Cynical. I will let the Frost to speak first.
Alright, terima kasih sangat-sangat kepada moderator. Okay, so Dato' Clash, I would like to ask beberapa soalan lah di sini tentang apa yang dibicarakan tadi oleh saudara. So, you talked about there needing to be civilians deciding these matters, or more or less senior journalists deciding these matters, correct? Dato' Clash, could you confirm?
Saya udah ditanya 2 kali ini, betul atau tak? Betul lah.
Okay, no need to get so feisty. Okay, so saya nak tanya lah kalau macam ni. Most senior journalists, I want to take as an example lah. Dato' Ipan ke Mir ke, they have been in the scene for a long time, and not just that, they have amassed a huge following. This is a hypothetical situation, by the way. So when we give them the power to decide the fate of every faith, yes, government has limited control, as you said, but what is the assurance that you can give that they will forever remain neutral and not be swayed on either side? Faham tak? Benda ni, it can happen. I hope it doesn't happen if this thing does get established, but it can happen. What steps could you take to actually mitigate it? Itu yang saya nak tanya with this system. Sebab you say the people will be involved, yeah, betul. But wouldn't they be more inclined to trust a more popular influencer, a more popular face as compared to the government? Have you thought about that? It could lead to cronyism and influence taking over what is right and wrong instead of actually what is actually correct and not correct being censored and being shown. It would turn into this sort of situation where apa narratif yang perlu dimainkan akan dimainkan, apa yang tidak mahu dimainkan akan disembunyikan. Benda ni boleh berlaku, and because they trust that figure so much, mereka takkan persoalkan. They'll be like, oh, he is very famous, tak mungkin dia akan buat macam tu. Apa yang Datuk nak cakap pasal benda ni? Macam mana nak prevent benda ni? Because it is bound to happen macam mana pun. If you put someone that has a lot of influence and is very well known in the community, they are bound to take the restraints and do something like this. So, apa inisiatif you boleh ambil to ensure mereka tidak akan swayed by any party and will forever remain neutral?
Okay, firstly, we need to clarify. We need to be very careful on speaking journalists as people who are neutral. Firstly, this wrongly frames journalists as people in the very space of our politics. Of course, journalists are supposed to be objective. They're supposed to view issues as objective. But that doesn't mean that they have to be neutral. Yes, they are partial, but partial to who? The public interest. The very people that they are serving, the very people that they are informing, and the very people that they gather information from. So when you're talking that neutrality and as such, no, every media company will have some sort of kepentingan, will have some sort of interest. So basically, and in terms of like cronyism and such, this issue is being expanded everywhere because this very civilian-based entity is good for every single company, whether they are state media, whether they are popular media, whether they are also private media. Belum tentu kepentingan NWS, and no offense to NWS, all respect to you, belum tentu kepentingan NWS sama dengan kepentingan kerajaan. belum tentu juga kepentingan media swasta itu sama dengan kepentingan NWS. That's why semuanya saling melengkapi. The government, hey, we have a concern with this media, and the people within the journalistic space discusses whether this media have really violated the code of ethics, or is this just a matter of government interest, a matter of power interest. Jadi this is sort of the very sangat keliru, a very false assessment, might I say, in terms of how we frame journalists and how we frame the issue of independence. Because as I've said, the very important thing of why we are forming this entity is that yes, the journalists have to be independent. Begitu.
Dato', you really did not answer my
Okay,
question.
okay, sabar. You want to fight, you fight afterwards. Okay.
Ini
Mr.
menjawab. It answers the question. You're framing it wrong.
You're going in circles.
Okay. Please chill. We all want to go to sleep after this. Okay. Mr. Itsiri. Any comments?
No comments on the statement.
One away. Okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Mir.
Baik, terima kasih kepada With Roblox dan juga Henzu dengan agak panas sebentar tadi di antara ketegangan yang muncul di antara Dato' Cynically Clash dan juga dengan Frostwalker 2787. Tapi kami mohon maaf kerana masa sebenarnya memang sangat-sangat orang kata apa, mencemburui kita untuk pada malam ini. Jadi sebelum kita nak menutup debat kita pada malam ni, saya mungkin nak menjemput lah untuk wakil setiap parti, untuk mungkin anda nak mengajak terutamanya penonton-penonton kita di TikTok dan juga di YT untuk mengundi, dan mengapa mereka patut mengundi parti pilihan anda ataupun parti anda sendiri dalam Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26. Kita mulakan dulu dengan Persatuan Anak Malaysia PAM. Silakan.
Saya menyeru supaya semua orang undilah PAM untuk supaya dapat benda baharu dan perubahan. Itu sajalah.
Baik, terima kasih daripada Persatuan Anak Malaysia. Seterusnya Dato' Cynically Clash. Kenapa orang ramai perlu mengundi Gerakan Suara Bangsa untuk Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26 ini?
It's very simple. The premise is simple. We have formed our policies that are community-based. They are based on the people, they are based on the players, and they are based on everyone. We consider everyone as stakeholders in this government, not just the people that are within it, but the people outside of it that are affected by it. Jadi so if you want to vote for us, make sure that you are here. Make sure that you want the policies of the public. Make sure that you come out and vote. Make sure that you practice your very fundamental right to vote, because that is the very freedom that we have when it comes to changing public policies and when it comes to changing governments. When changing government vision is possible, we can change government actions. Thank you.
Terima kasih Dato' Cynically Clash, antara ucapan yang menarik untuk penonton-penonton kita barangkali memilih Gerakan Suara Bangsa. Dan seterusnya yang terakhir, silakan Frostwalker 2787. Tariklah penonton-penonton kita untuk mengundi parti anda. Silakan.
Okey. Saya tak nak cakap banyak lah sebab banyak dah bercakap tadi kan. Kenapa perlu undi PDM? Soalan di kepala semua orang kan. Okey. Senang saja. Siapa yang parti mana sampai hari ini mampu memberi kestabilan di masa yang tidak menentu bagi MYSverse? Cari pilihan sendiri, pilih jawapan sendiri. Siapa parti mana yang tidak berporak-peranda selalu dan memerlukan sokongan parti lain untuk stabil? Pilih jawapan anda juga. Dan parti mana yang mampu menjaga anda dan menjaga kepentingan anda selepas ini di masa depan? Jawapan semua dah ada dalam otak anda. Ini adalah negara demokrasi. Pilihan di tangan anda. Wahai para penonton di luar sana, pilihlah dengan betul, pilihlah mengikut hati anda. Kerana demokrasi perlu mengambil jalannya dan bukan saja diselewengkan dan ditolak tepi untuk memilih siapa yang lebih popular. Bukan. Ia haruslah menjadi pemilihan siapa adalah ahli politik atau parti politik yang boleh menjaga kepentingan anda semua dan memastikan negara kekal stabil dan mampu bersaing di medan dunia dan di persada dunia. Itu saja daripada saya. Pilihan di tangan rakyat.
Baik, terima kasih Prof. Walker 2787, penuh dengan bunga-bunga, sama seperti logo Parti Demokratik Malaysia. Baiklah, saya kira itu saja kan. Mungkin Datuk Ipan boleh bersama dengan saya di hadapan pentas kita. Baiklah, jadi itulah dia antara yang menarik untuk anda saksikan dalam debat Reset Ro-politik Anyone. Saya yakin perbaharuan ataupun perubahan perlu dilakukan dalam Ro-politik untuk kita kekal relevan dan juga kekal untuk membawa MYSverse ke satu tahap yang lebih baik, terutamanya dalam kalangan komuniti kita, terutamanya yang mungkin baru saja bersama kita, yang baru saja mengenali MYSverse melalui siaran langsung kita di National Wide Service ni, mungkin tertanya-tanya apa yang sedang anda saksikan ini. Jadi inilah dia sebahagian daripada simulasi Ro-politik di MYSverse. Dan sebelum kita nak menutup debat kita ni, seperti biasa, kalau mereka hendak mengundi kan calon-calon ataupun mengundi pembahas yang terbaik sepanjang debat kita berlangsung, di manakah mereka boleh jalankan tanggungjawab mereka? Silakan.
Ya, boleh saja search di Roblox anda, iaitu nama gamenya SMK MYS pada Sabtu dan juga Ahad ini. Yep.
Ya. Awak pun dah jadi macam calon berdebat dah. Saya tanya lain, awak jawab lain. Anda ingin mengundi pembahas terbaik pada malam ini, anda boleh saja pergi ke bit.ly/MYSverse26 yang mana pautan kita dah share di server kami dan juga di Discord MYSverse. Dan Pan, kalau mereka nak mengundi Pan, kita nak mengundi ni pada tarikh bila saudara Pan? Tu baru the right question.
Maafkan saya, saya ulang lagi pada Sabtu dan juga Ahad ini. Yep.
Alright, so jangan ke mana-mana, jadi teruskan untuk follow grup Roblox MYSverse dan juga DC server MYSverse dan juga NWS untuk kita dapatkan maklumat lebih lanjut berkenaan dengan Pilihan Raya Umum MYSverse ke-26. Selamat mengundi daripada kami di National Wide Service. Itu saja, saya Mer_ASPM
dan saya Ipan_Shah.
Kita berjumpa lagi pada siaran langsung yang akan datang. Terima kasih juga Wave Roblox dan juga Henzo Jenha selaku co-host kita pada malam ini. Itu saja di National Wide Service, segalanya
tentang
perspektif. Assalamualaikum.